Go ahead.
Well, we're going to talk about this a lot more tomorrow, but I just think, because I've gotten this question from a bunch of different folks now, and we talked about it in our group, so I really appreciate Dylan for raising this. But in some ways, this theory is predicated on the idea of starting something like an organization, but it's an organization that works very differently than like what we think of when we talk about organizations. Nicole defined it as like a small O organization, or OTPOR. I've heard of in Serbia one time there was a court case where they were sued, right, or whatever, being charged for having an illegal organization, and they're like, no, we're not an organization, we're an idea. And because they had no kind of like legal status or whatever, the judge was like, oh, okay, yeah, like that's allowed. So in some ways it is an organization because there are a group of people who are organizing in some ways under the same name potentially and using a similar theory, but it's not an organization like, you know, a union or a membership organization.
It's a momentum-driven, decentralized organization that naturally happens a lot of times in popular movements.
Yeah.
Can I just offer also, I mean, so I was telling Belinda too that I think the key to a lot of what we're talking about right now, and you know, go back to principles, is where you say sort of that we need, that it is about teaching accountability to the grand strategy in a way, and that to me, like, another way of framing it, is about leadership capacity and about figuring out, like, is the absorption question of, like, how do you ensure that, like, yes, you're building all of this possible support, popular support, but like, the absorption and what we're talking about is more and more people taking ownership, taking responsibility, and using their gifts and unique resources to create different campaigns that lead up to that strategy. And so, you know, I think in terms of like bringing it back to how we tend to think about it in the US, that's how I think about it, and that's where I think the important piece comes from. So I don't know if that helps in terms of like reframing. Because we don't want to just take down a dictator. We again like see the vacuum of that, and like that's not, I don't think, what we're going for. And so what we are going for is more leadership capacity to create change in the United States and beyond.
And then it's how do we give that to people, which is just this, which is an organization, but we gotta create all the movement to do that. Yeah.
And sometimes it's an organization that catalyzes it, and sometimes it's an organization that supports that and plays a specific role. I don't know. That's how I see it.
No, you're on the point. I mean, Oxford, they train 40,000 people. You know? So, let's just put it that way. So, let's talk about this next stuff. Can we take a deep breath? Deep breath, deep breath. I know. It's not working. Okay, let's go. The paper has, so now let's talk a little bit about, can we just talk about the top of the pyramid for a second? Can we talk about strategic objectives? Yes? Can you say strategic objectives with me? Okay, good. This is the only way I see if you're sleeping or not. So, we have a formula for a strategic objective. Where this shows. Come on, show me. Okay. It's popular support plus leveraging method towards victory equals a strategic objective. Okay? Now, I mean, pretty much it's a popular demand, right?
Popular support for popular demand,
right?
plus,
A method of how you're going to leverage that towards victory equals a strategic objective.
and what Bill Moyer says is just to the popular demand, get active popular support around popular demand, and your movement will figure out the victory. So there's different models of doing it. But we are going, and sometimes it helps to have that method, and sometimes it hurts. Okay, but we're going to brainstorm a possible strategic objective for your movement. It's hypothetical. It's not a big deal. You're not launching the revolution based on this thing, okay? If you want to do that, there's a whole year process that you could go through to figure that out.
So I just want to say one thing because Paul was mentioning all the exercises that Upward does to do the strategic estimate. So I just want to say that in this session, we're only trying to get us, all of us, to understand the concept of a strategic objective and then to pick a strategic objective. There is a longer process about crafting the right strategic objective. That is not what we're doing today. Because that could take a significant amount of conversations and other analysis. Are you following me on this? Say aye. So I just want us to measure expectations so we feel victorious. So just some criteria around your strategic objective, right? Is that number one, it must be the translation of your theory of change. Number two, it needs to be popular. Or the potential to be popular, right? Which another way to do that is, what we're saying is that it must be understood by the public. It needs to be able to be digested. And we're saying here, it must include the method, but we're actually, as Paul said, as Bill Moyer also said, it's optional. It depends, you might wanna make some of your choices. So, Paul, do you wanna lead them with the exercise?
Yes, so I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna coach the immigrant rights movement around this exercise.
Well, this is like a training specialized for us.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm not paying a lot of attention. I don't know why.
Okay, so first thing, what would be popular demands for your movement? What would be some popular demands?
Stop deportations,
Stop deportations,
immigration reform.
immigration reform.
DREAMA, extending DACA.
I'm sorry?
Extending DACA.
Extending DACA, okay.
That's within stopping deportations framework, no? What do you think about like
Driver license for
driver's
all,
licenses?
for all.
Like they wanna, oh,
Can we get a volunteer now, please?
I think that,
Yeah.
Well, when we say popular,
yeah.
we're talking about the entire United States population, right?
Yep, yep.
Okay, I mean, well, that kind of, I feel like it kind of changed.
Popular is the general public of the United States.
That's right.
No,
You're
no,
gonna
but
build a
it's-
national movement.
No, but if you're doing migrant rights, it's what is the popular demand for the migrant rights movement.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, okay, okay, so that's.
So
changes,
you actually, you
Because
actually.
to me, if I were to say general.
So let's go
public,
through
it'd
them
be like
again.
keep
What were the
families
ones that
together.
you guys mentioned? Comprehensive immigration reform. Stop deportations. What was the other one?
DREAMA?
Win DREAM Act,
Put them all
which
there,
would
put them all
be,
there.
okay, DREAM Act.
I would say like local would be like in-state tuition or
In-state tuition,
and driver licenses.
okay?
Somebody said
Okay. Hypothetically, if you wanted to build a popular movement that's gonna involve a lot of people and energize people, what popular demand hypothetically would you just pick hypothetically? Out of those five.
Between 1 and 2.
1 and 2? So let's pick comprehensive immigration reform, okay? But let's say you have a little talk about that. Pick one, comprehensive immigration reform.
Well, what do you wanna pick? Is that what you want? What do you want? Like honestly, like look at each other's eyes, come on, work for the same struggle. What, out of those five, what calls your attention? Just for the sake, just for 1 second.
I think number 2.
I think we're in a moment of number 2, but I think beyond stopping deportations, I've always wanted status regardless, right? I think it's really difficult for us to choose either because we know we want the whole package, which is eventually having a status that's gonna be permanent for our protecting us from being separated from the people that we love. So that's why I think I've always seen stopping deportations. There are different ways of stopping deportations. We think the big desire and
Great.
wish, which is a status that's gonna allow us to work freely, to drive freely, and to live without the fear of deportation.
So in some ways for you, stop deportations is a campaign within the grand strategy of winning a
Yeah,
case.
but that maybe I'm just
No, I think that's right on. I think that's right on.
And we're hearing some faces going on there. Some
Yeah.
faces we're hearing. We're not gonna do that, but that's what we're hearing.
The only thing is historically CIR is a phase of a bigger grand strategy, right? Because, or grand objective, because we're trying to get another and whatever, there's different phases. CIR isn't necessarily the ultimate, because what does that change stuff for future immigrant generations?
That is true.
So that would be a grand strategy. Or that could be considered a campaign. Or that could, see, it's all about how you defined it.
Because I could see CIR as my grand strategy and then stop deportations as a phase.
That's right. So just pick one. Just pick one.
Or then have a grand strategy.
Yeah, we're gonna do
Think
4
about-
years,
think At least took about 2 to 5 years.
2 to 5
Okay,
years.
CIR.
CR.
I love CIR.
Okay, next, what would be the popular methods that you would win comprehensive immigration reform? How would you leverage, if you got active popular support, if you build a movement that polarized the crap out of the American public, and you want, your movement grew super big, how would you leverage that popular support to actually win your demand? Well, let's just brainstorm, What would be different methods of winning?
Oh,
What?
yeah, I would kinda do what y'all did, with your big action and then like, just like annoy the fuck out of legislatures, especially now it's an election year and they're like, oh, what do you do? That's what I do.
Okay.
One of
So there's large.
I'm confused.
Yes.
Yeah, wait, what?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for example, method could be one, that they could be at general strike. Another method could be legislative. Another method, well, the reason why it's a method is because you can strike multiple. You can do an agricultural strike, you can do a service industry strike, you can do multiple different kinds of strikes.
So is it like
So-
the bucket tactic goes in?
That is right. And so methods is more like where all the
How-
tactics are in their house of the tactics is called a method.
So real quick, what are the methods that marriage equality is using to win? Let's just brainstorm. What are they using to win? State courts, okay? Referendums, they're trying to get federal legislation, right? They're doing corporate campaigns to get marriage equality enforced on the corporate level. They're doing corporate boycotts. Yeah. Okay?
Began with
Are
municipalities.
methods the same as phases?
So methods, how you define what is the grand strategic objective is the end thing that you're gonna do. What do you know
It's the final.
is the final thing? How are you gonna finally win comprehensive immigration reform?
But you can list methods. I mean, methods could become your phases. Just as in Serbia, the general strike became the last phase. But so what we're doing right now is actually just a brainstorm.
Okay.
All the multiple methods. Then you have to go through a process of selecting.
So let's just write up the ones that for marriage equality. So we got state laws,
It's all the
legal
same.
courts, filing courts, right? Federal legislation, corporate campaigns,
There's divestment
general
from
strike.
private prisons in the migrant rights movement, right?
And these are subcategories for the theory of change?
Can methods be tactics?
Yeah.
Yes, but what we're asking for the strategic objective is how in the end, what is the method that you know how you're gonna win comprehensive immigration reform? For a national movement. You could win it in multiple different ways. You could get all the states to pass state legislation. But what do you think is the most likely way you know you're gonna win? Federal legislation. So circle federal legislation.
No food.
So you're gonna win federal legislation. So now you have a popular demand to win popular public support, active public support, and you have the method, which is federal legislation. Now you can say, well, what are all the campaigns that you could do to win popular support around comprehensive immigration reform?
That's right, action.
So let's brainstorm that real quick. What would be campaigns? Maybe some DREAM Act campaigns at the state level could really help build popular support for comprehensive immigration reform. Stopping deportations could be a campaign that helps that, right? And then those campaigns could be at the local level, they could be at the national level, that could be bottom up, there can be a lot of organic stuff, but it's all around the grand strategic objective. That in the end, they know that they're gonna take that and leverage that for federal legislation. Does that make sense? So what we want you to do is brainstorm possible popular demands for your movement. And if you have multiple different movements, I think you should spend time with yourself or with another person, maybe find somebody to help you, and go through this process so that your organization can really think specifically around a demand, not one of multiple movements. And so brainstorm popular demand, brainstorm a method, pick a popular demand, pick a method, and then put them together into a basic hypothetical strategic objective.
And in the paper on the last sheet of your participant guide, where you said the pyramid, just write it there, just for the sake of the exercise. But remember, team, we're not choosing the right one. We're just picking one that fits for right now, or maybe is, how do you say, it? Hypothetical? Is that the word?
Hypothetical,
I
yes.
don't even know English anymore. but-
Can there be lots and lots of different campaigns around a lot of different symbolic demands that help you gain your strategic objective? Yes. That makes sense? Go ahead.
I'm confused. When you say popular, I just want to clarify, you mean popular nationally?
For, it depends what your focus is.
Okay. Oh, right.
Because if you're doing a campaign in Boston, it
Right.
might it might be popular within Boston.
Got you. But it's not within the movement, it's with the general population.
Right. It depends on how you conceptualize your movement. Is your movement a national movement? Is it an international movement? Is it a
Local. And for this, we're gonna break for around 15 minutes, but we're not gonna break in our regular groups, because we know that either some people wanna do this individually or between small organizations, so please group yourselves in the way that you might wanna work on that. Okay? So 15 minutes? We put some music, rock and roll?
Yeah.
It's a campaign.